Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today I want to talk to you guys about something that I know you've already heard about, but I think it just needs to be hammered home, and that is the censorship that's happening to conservatives right now. This is something unprecedented, something that I've never seen in my lifetime. If you would have asked me 10 years ago if this is where I thought we would be in 10 years, I wouldn't have believed you. Okay, so it seems to me that the censorship that we're seeing across the country right now is just the tip of the iceberg. It doesn't seem to be slowing down. As a matter of fact, it seems to be speeding up. And more people are jumping on board with the idea that we can silence people's voices and that it's okay to silence people's voices. That's the scariest part to me, is that there's so many people out there who believe that it's okay to silence the speech of others. Social media has become more than just a platform. Social media is where people go to get their news, to get their information, to get different opinions. This is where you have broad opinions come together and people kind of find their own space. So obviously we know there's a lot of different people out there with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different points of view. They come from different backgrounds, both economic and ethnic, and they come together on social media and they find their place. And their place is their place. That's where they feel comfortable. But what social media is doing now is they're taking that one place from those people that they don't agree with, and they're removing it so that there's only a place now for people who are like-minded to gather. And so this is a huge problem across the country, but it's expanding. Now we have corporations that are jumping on board saying that if you support anything that's going on right now, we're not going to provide you banking services. We're not going to provide you any economic service. You're not going to be able to get a loan. You're not going to be able to get a home loan. You're not going to be able to get a job. Even. You're not going to be able to do these things because these companies are jumping on board with the idea that we can stop people from talking when we don't like their opinion. You know, when I was growing up, it was very clear to me, and it was, you know, I was raised right. I was told that, look, if you see somebody out there and they're spewing a bunch of hate and things that you don't believe, then you just walk by and don't listen to it. You know, they have a right to do it whether you like it or not. And if they're just out there and they're on a stand and they're talking about their own political views or, you know, their own points of view on life or, you know, the end is near or whatever it was, that was their right to do it. And you're not supposed to inhibit their right to do that. That's the way that I was raised. And so when I saw things that I disagreed with, I just moved on. Nowadays, when people disagree with something, they can't move on. They feel like this is their moment. This is their time to tell that person that their opinion is wrong and they do not have a right to say it. So the problem with that is it goes against the fundamental principles, the founding principles of our country. This country was founded on the principles of freedom. We just fought against tyranny. We wanted religious freedom. We wanted freedom to express ourselves. We wanted to be able to say what we wanted without fear of oppression or, you know, being thrown in jail or in prison because you have a different point of view. We founded this country on freedom. And to this day, this country is supposed to be a beacon of hope, a beacon of light to those people across the world to show that freedom can be successful. And that if you give the ability to the people to determine their own future and their own fate, they will do the right thing. That is what our country was founded on. So telling people that you no longer can enjoy or express that freedom goes against the founding principles of our country. It is very scary when people from Cuba, people who have just fled oppression, people who are here as refugees from other countries, come to this country, see what's happening these days, and then say that they're afraid for what they're seeing because it mirrors what they just came from. So with that being said, it's a sad day in this country that I have to make a video defending the freedom of speech and defending our First Amendment. I am seeing censorship now on a much more broad scale than we saw even just a week ago. For instance, there are radio personalities like Mark Levin and Dan Bongino and others who are being censored, like Ben Shapiro. They have nationally syndicated radio shows, and they're being told that if they talk about certain political topics, that they will be fired. They will be fired for speaking freely on what's typically known as conservative radio. And so when you have conservatives who are being silenced not only in the movies, not only on social media, but now also on radio, you have pretty much shut down all forms of communication. You have televised media, you have film, you have internet, and you also have radio, right? Those are our main forms of communication. And if conservative speech is being shut down on all of those platforms, then this is a much bigger problem than I think a lot of people realized. You know, you talk about the recent GoDaddy issue where certain websites have been taken down, and you know, I don't know the full story behind that, but you know, I feel that that kind of falls in line with everything that's happening. So now you have internet sites that are being attacked, social media sites that are being attacked, you have radio and all these others that are being silenced. We have a very big problem on our hands. And it's something that we cannot stand for. It's something that needs to be addressed by the people that are supposed to be in charge in order to protect this republic, which is our elected officials. However, we have a problem there as well, because now it seems like most of our elected officials are perfectly fine with what's going on. There are a few that are standing up, that are saying something, that, you know, are trying to stop what's going on. But for the most part, it seems like the class of people who have been voted in order to make the laws in this country are going to allow this to continue. The problem is that this can flip and this can work on both sides, and they need to try and remember that. That while right now conservative speech is being squelched, it's not to say that in the future there might not be a group or some people that try and censor the other side, which I also think is wrong. I support everybody's freedom to speak, everybody's right to say what they feel and their opinion. If the left wants to have a rally, if the left wants to go out and talk about socialism, they have every right to do that. And I will stand up for that right. They have a right to do that, just like people do on the right. It doesn't matter if you're on the left, if you're in the center, or you're on the right. Freedom of speech applies to all of us, every single citizen in this country. I would hate to see a world where the U.S. is no longer a leader in terms of freedom. You know, you think about things, I know that maybe not all of you are old enough to remember this, but when the Berlin Wall came down, some of you may not know or may not remember if they're not teaching it in school anymore, but there was a time where there was a huge wall that ran through the middle of Germany. It separated East Germany from West Germany, and the people that were on the East German side were oppressed. They didn't have freedom of speech, expression, freedom of movement even. They didn't enjoy those freedoms, and that ended up failing. I remember watching the wall come down on TV, and I didn't really grasp the scope of what was happening. And I specifically remember my parents, who were watching it on TV behind me, saying that what you're seeing here is a big deal. They told me that this is history. And I watched it differently after that. And I remember seeing people standing up on that wall and knocking it down with a sledgehammer. I remember seeing people in West Germany reach up over that wall and finally get these people that had been oppressed over to a side that was more free. You know, could you imagine those people that were from East Germany who had experienced that type of oppression coming to the U.S. and now seeing what's happening? Add them to the list of people like the people from Cuba that don't want to see that happen in our country. Now, I hate saying this because honestly, I feel like I've reiterated it so many times in Second Amendment videos, but the same thing applies here. You need to bug your representative, your congressman. You need to call, you need to write, you need to email them and tell them that you want them to do something about all the censorship that we're seeing going across this country right now. That they need to do something to rein in these companies that are trying to silence our voices. That if they don't, they may not have a job in government anymore. Because if they don't believe in freedom, maybe we'll vote them out and we'll replace them with somebody who does believe in freedom and who will work to keep this country a great country. Right now, the way that I'm seeing it is that this is something that affects the entire country, but we know that it's going to fall on deaf ears. We know that there's a lot of people in the U.S. government who are actually happy about what's going on because they feel that it benefits their side. And so they're going to take that email, that phone call, whatever, they're going to delete it and throw it in the trash. They could care less. But if there is anybody left in there that knows that their constituents, or at least enough of their constituents, are angry about what's going on, that, hey, you may not get all the votes that you want next time an election comes up, well, that might be enough of an encouragement for them to actually do something about it. So I know it seems futile sometimes to, continue to call and write and constantly say, hey, what are you doing about this and that? It's still something that needs to be done. They're the people who are elected to make laws and change laws and essentially run the country, and they're not doing a good job of protecting our basic constitutional freedoms, like freedom of speech and the Second Amendment. They're just not doing it. As a matter of fact, they're just sitting idly by it as it decays and disappears. So this is a very big deal. We all need to pay very close attention to it, and we all need to be mindful that this is, again, just the tip of the iceberg. It's not slowing down, it's speeding up. And so, be vigilant, watch out for the things that are changing and what's going on, and make sure that you do something about it. Write to somebody and write them multiple times and let them know that we want something done. Anyway, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.